God. And let's just start with the weather. It's the Weather Channel. But it's tough weather going on. Our thoughts are with the fires out in California and L.A. Awful. Pacific Palisades, Malibu. It's getting into Pasadena, all over. And who knows where this thing is going to go. It's just incredible. Just spring up in 24 hours and you're just, everything you got's gone. Just a terrible visuals and terrible imagination of just that. And I think anyone who's either from LA or been to LA, hopefully you drive up that coast of especially the Malibu cliffs and all of that, and you just think, God, this is paradise. Not that losing a house anywhere to a fire is any less traumatic, but just amazing. And then there's gonna be snow, there's gonna be ice, there's gonna be everything all over the South. Drive safe, stay home, hope your power stays on. The playoff of Northern aggression has sent its teams and weather to
It has.
Cotton Bowl, will it happen? I guess as it will, but people trying to get into that game or coming from across the state, particularly Texas fans that are trying to maybe drive in, there's a lot up in the air due to weather, which I was not anticipating once we moved outside of the home site. So you two are safe and comfortable getting sunburnt down in South Florida.
It's chilly here, Dan. I got my hat on. It's chilly.
Yeah.
It's like 55
by
here.
chilly,
People are bundling up.
It's like 60. There was a guy sitting out by the pool yesterday at the media hotel wearing a full down jacket, with the hood up, and pants and shoes. It's like, if you're going to do that, why are you even sitting by the pool?
Yeah. They got their parkas and their scarves out here.
Yeah,
when
they're struggling with
60.
60 degrees.
Yeah.
Struggling.
It's tough out there. It's tough out there. You guys both got blasted with snow. Snow's everywhere, except in Detroit. One more example of why Detroit's got the best weather in America other than San Diego and Honolulu.
Oh, my God.
We got no snow. You take the whole year. We got the best weather. Say what you want. I don't know where you. The rest of Michigan,
dubious claim. Incredibly dubious.
West Michigan, Northern Michigan, they get that. Forget it. But Detroit, I'm telling you, you hate your weather, move to Detroit. It's like 28 and no snow.
28 part's a problem.
Yeah,
that's the worst.
Perfect. 28.
That's the worst. You got a foot of snow in DC. It doesn't get to 102 here.
Hey, if it's going to be cold, I'd like it to snow because better skiing, Dan.
It doesn't get 100. We don't have hurricanes. We don't have tornadoes. We don't have wildfires. Doesn't get humid like that. The summer, fall, spring, perfect. This is the worst weather. 28, cloudy. All right, live with it.
Chamber of Commerce. Are you on the take from the Chamber of Commerce?
Everybody, don't get me into it.
Sounds like it.
Do not get me into a Detroit government corruption scandal because they arrest a lot of those guys. I don't know what they're doing. No, I'm just saying. There's no snow here. Snowing in Tennessee and Virginia and North Carolina and Alabama and Texas. And not here. I'm just saying. But anyway, they'll definitely play football Thursday night. Notre Dame, Penn State in the Orange Bowl. And you guys are there. What is the buzz down there, Pat? What are they talking about? You tell me. I'm not going to ask any questions because you just came from some media function.
Yeah, they just had the head coach's press conference in which I would bet James Franklin said 87% of the words, which, this is his element. He loves those media Q&As, and he will go on and on and on. And Marcus Freeman was happy, I think, to let him go on and on and on. Franklin also did this yesterday. They arrived and brought 6 players over to the hotel for interviews. He brought all backups, which I thought was a little bit of a slap to the Orange Bowl. You show up and you don't bring Tyler Warren, you don't bring Drew Aller, you don't bring anybody who's, doing most of the playing time. But that's also what you get with James Franklin. You get a lot of control and a lot of sound bites, both. But, as far as the buzz, we'll see. I think we're set up for a great game. The historic meeting of two black coaches at this level has certainly got a lot of attention, and I think deservedly so. A few questions about that today, including I asked one of James Franklin about it. But, I think Marcus Freeman had an interesting point today. The perceived 2 days less preparation. Freeman said Penn State didn't know who they were playing until 7 days ago. So it's not like they could have film breakdowns of both teams, but they didn't know which one they were going to really dive in on until Notre Dame won. I think it's more of a rest recuperation situation where Notre Dame does have some key injuries, but should be an excellent game. I'm ready for it.
I think the best comment, right, Pat, was James Franklin apparently said that every team should be in a conference and should play at a conference championship game while sitting right next to the Notre Dame football coach.
Oh, yes.
And James Franklin isn't alone in that. I'm sure there's a lot of people that believe that Notre Dame's independence is an unfair advantage and that they should join a league. Many within the Big Ten, I think of that more than believe that more than. Or have stronger opinions on that more than most. And James Franklin decided to let it out publicly. I skipped the press conference, Dan. I'm here to just lay by the pool and catch some sun.
I'm fine with that. Hopefully, Cody Brunner, our college football editor, not listening. I'm fine with that. So for years, all we heard is they got to join a conference or they can't compete for national titles. Notre Dame, join a conference, you're clinging to this ridiculous independence, which Penn State once did.
Yeah.
Right? And you know how many we've seen the slew of Penn State national titles since they joined the Big Ten. There was just an incredible array. None. Not a single damn one since 1986. But, you got to join a conference to compete for national titles. And now that Notre Dame has finally put it all together, now, after all these years of insisting, now we can do this, all the years of, because the beauty of Notre Dame is they are like the dog that's trying to catch the car, right? They think they're going to do it every time. No team, no fan base in school goes into each season thinking this is the year and then it's never the year. Like there's a lot of teams out there, right? Let's say, you're Minnesota football fan, right? And you're like, hey, man, I'm excited for the season. You don't go in every year going, this is the year we can win the national title. Notre Dame fans literally kind of believe that every year. And that's the beauty of them. They just keep coming back. Just keep believing. And they keep, this recruit's going to do it. This QB is going to do it. This is going to be the year. And then it's finally the year that they've now they're in the semis. And now we're hearing, oh, this is unfair. They've gamed the system.
Yeah. No, it's a bit rich. It really is. It is. And I think James Franklin, there was some mind games going on up at the podium there today where Franklin said, he's going through, you're representing your school, you're representing your conferences. Oh, excuse me, our conference. I don't think that was a slip of the tongue. I think that he meant to drop that. And then, yes, he came back later, as Ross said, and said, no disrespect to Marcus but I think everybody should be in a conference. And all of a sudden, that's the talking point now is that Notre Dame, like coaches, they can find any reason why something is not fair for them.
Yeah.
And this is another example of that.
Yeah. I guess I'm not getting it. But anyway, is that going to is there a lineman for Penn State? It's like, I'm going to block a little extra hard now because these guys think aren't in a conference. Does anyone think Marcus Freeman could make that decision?
Do you think players even know? Most players even know about it. Is Notre Dame in a conference? Are they not in a conference? I don't know.
They probably know, but I guarantee they don't care.
They don't care. Yeah.
Notre Dame is kind of in a conference. They play 5 ACC games.
Yeah.
They play Stanford. They play USC. They play Navy. That's their 8 games.
Yeah.
They got their own TV network. You know, they kind of are in it. But whatever. They're not in a conference. I love the Big Ten hate on Notre Dame. I mean, that's a good spice.
Sure.
It's normally been like early season. Now we're finally here in the playoff. But yeah, I don't think Marcus Freeman's now rattled and is going to panic on a 3rd down call.
No.
Boy, if only I was in the Big Ten, I'd know what to do. But I'll give James Franklin credit for that. So these two teams, neither one's won a title since the 80s. Neither of these men have won a title. We currently have 2 coaches in college football that have won a national title, Dabo Swinney and Kirby Smart, and that's it. So we're going to get a new one, whether it's going to be Franklin or Freeman playing for it. On the other side, we're going to get Ryan Day or Steve Sarkisian playing for it. Texas hasn't won a title since 2005, Ohio State since 2014. So some fan base is going to get a drought of some sorts. I wouldn't shed too many tears for Ohio State, but that's 10 years. We've noted the fascinating bit that these 4 coaches, we have Marcus Freeman, who some people wanted to fire after the NIU loss in September. We have James Franklin, who people had kind of given up on after the Ohio State loss in October. And we have Ryan Day, who had people saying they should fire him after the Michigan loss in November. And they could all win the national title. And then we have Steve Sarkisian, who once was fired by USC.
Yeah, that's right, true. That's true.
Keep plugging, kids. Keep plugging.
That's right.
An eagle takes off into the wind. Adversity. Amazing group. Ross, you wrote a story earlier this week about revenue sharing and NIL, and one of the points you had were the 2 Ohio State and Texas are basically the 2 biggest budgeted programs in the country, or close, I think, close to it. And the NIL, the being able to pay players via just NIL has been good for those 2 schools. Ohio State particularly being able to keep so many of their great players from going to the NFL this year. We saw Michigan do that a year before, but now that there's going to be revenue sharing where every school is going to have 13, 15, whatever million that they're going to spend on their rosters. And you're no longer reliant on whether your boosters are fired up and want to kick 20 million in. So everybody in the Big Ten, everyone in the SEC, everyone in kind of that's a legitimate program in this country is going to have money to spend on players. And then you can go over the top with some NIL that's going to have to go through this supposed clearinghouse with Deloitte. I'm incredibly skeptical that this would mean anything. But what we have found is while some players will go to the highest bidder, as long as they're getting something good, they're pretty happy. How will... Oh, one of you guys got a housekeeping. All right.
I think I'm going to leave that in, by the way.
Gotta leave it in.
Great.
I mean,
That was
How
great. Now I'm
about-
concerned. Now I'm concerned mine's going to come. Hold on.
Who's picking? Who's she
you
picking?
You should have asked who she's going with.
Who you got?
I should have asked her who she's.
Who
picking,
you
but,
got? You
I
come
mean,
back.
just like
Come back in about an hour, and but you got Notre Dame or Penn State. Better than my race for the case picks some weeks. Anyway, Ross,
Yes.
will revenue sharing? So we find that
Yes,
look, if
back
you
to
can
the story.
offer something that
Yeah.
yes, somebody can pay more, but is this going to further level? We've seen a leveling of the playing field. We've seen more teams being able to compete, a la Penn State and Notre. One of those 2 teams is going to be in the championship game. Last year we had Michigan and Washington in the championship game. It's no longer just a few teams. But will everybody being able to pay the players directly a pretty good sum of money, will that negate some of the advantage of a place like Ohio State or Texas? That's what you wrote about.
Yeah. Like, and you know, I know we've discussed this maybe on the last part of the one before that. We discussed a little bit about like the inherent advantages for some of these big blue blood powers and how part of that was diminished a little bit during the NIL era, right? Well, one of the purposes of the settlement in the new revenue share is to, in a way, diminish it completely. And level the playing field completely where everybody has this much money, right? $20 million to distribute to your athletes. And that's how you'll get your athletes. You can recruit like the old ways. You can go visit them. You can go sell them on your facilities, your history, your brand. But it's more of a recruiting transactional relationships that are happening right now in the future. And it's going to level the playing field. Well, how do you get the advantage outside of your history, brand, your facilities, all that stuff? Like, is there anything monetarily you can do to get the advantage as some of these schools have had in the NIL era, where the biggest boosters, the schools with the biggest boosters and the biggest booster pots have the advantage? What can you do in the rev share era? And it's to go over that quote cap that's about $20.5 million for year one next year. So each school will have $20.5 million to distribute among their athletes however they see fit. But can you go over that? And the answer is you can, in a way. Right? There will be, all money that athletes get. Athletes can still get money outside of school money, outside of this rev share, through endorsements, commercial brands, businesses, NIL deals like they do now. But any deal outside of the school that is affiliated in any way with a booster or a booster collective has to go through, as Dan, you mentioned, this Deloitte-run clearinghouse, NIL clearinghouse. And there's certainly a lot of doubt, right, that this clearinghouse will stand the legal test, and won't get sued. So I'm sure at some point there will be lawsuits over this clearinghouse when it kicks out deals by boosters or by business owners who are boosters. Right. But that's the way to do it. And schools are devising over the cap budgets already to do it, whether that's $3 million, $5 million, one's as high as $8 million over the cap. So pushing the cap to $28 million, basically, most of which will be spent, I'm sure, on a football roster. One collective CEO told me you got to at least basically get to 20. Your football roster's got to be at 20. And that's about $5 million more than most schools will get in the rev share era, because when you look at the cap of 20, right, you got to give some to men's basketball, some to other sports. Scholarships are reduced from it, new scholarships. So all of a sudden, as we've discussed on the show, each football roster, if you're given the maximum $20 million, each football roster is going to get about 13 to 15 to 16 million of that. So you got to try to get 4 or 5 million more to compete with the top 20. Is what the trend is. So how do you do that? You have to try to find and create for your athletes authentic deals that can get through the clearinghouse. And that's happening right now at most schools. They're always trying to find an edge, and this is the new frontier in recruiting.
Who's got the $8 million? Do we know?
Well, I think it's a few places.
Okay.
I think those programs that are playing in Dallas, when you look at the top NIL collectives, right, that's going to give you a good indication of who's going to be over the cap and how much they're going to be over the cap. So the Ohio States, right, the Texases, the Tennessees, the Miamis, the Oregons, perhaps even. I mean, there's that group at the top, and then just below that, maybe the Ole Misses, Georgias, those group of programs.
Mrs. Ellison, number 4.
Yeah, Mrs. She is her own entity.
Yeah.
No, I mean, there is a revenue share cap, but it's not a real cap, right? And so I think schools will continue to find a way to uneven the playing field. The other thing, I want to see this Deloitte thing actually work. I would like to see it, how this is going to operate, how efficient it's going to be. I mean, lawsuits. The NCAA has been wildly ineffective and sued to death trying to enforce rules, and all of a sudden now we're just going to outsource it and somebody else is going to come in and everything's going to all of a sudden work the way they envision it? Probably not.
I wouldn't worry about Deloitte steal. That doesn't
I bet this is like maybe a yield sign is getting thrown up, but maybe not even a yield sign. Maybe it's just, look both ways before you speed right through the stop sign.
It's like the Wild West, but you have to have like one sheriff who hangs out at the saloon to make everyone pretend like they're then nothing's
Sure.
actually the stagecoach is still getting robbed. But hey, look, there's a big difference. It is much less of an advantage when one team has 27 million and another team has 20 than when one team has 20 and the other team has 0. Or one team is willing to drop bags of cash off at recruits and have a car dealer that hands out things and another's playing by the rules. So this is whatever they came up with is going to level it even more.
I'm not saying it won't help disperse talent. I think that's going to happen. I think I'm fine with that.
All right, Ross had to step away for a minute. We're going to be back right after this. Talk a few subjects.
Introducing Daily Draw, the latest free-to-play game from Yahoo Sports. Daily Draw gives you a pack of 6 prediction cards every day based on the day's biggest sporting event. Download or update the Yahoo Sports app on the Apple App Store or Google Play and join the action with Daily Draw today.
All right, couple other, we'll get to the playoff picks in a little bit. Couple subjects, though, I wanted to get to. Las Vegas Raiders are looking for a head coach. Immediately, everyone just jumped on the Deion Sanders would take that job. Could Coach Prime be a candidate in Vegas? They got the number 6 pick. They could draft Shador to go along with him. I'm confused at why everyone thinks he should be the coach of his son.
Yeah, right. Does it have to be that way?
Yeah, are they trying to lure him away? Is that it? Is that like how you lure? Be like, we'll get you. I don't get that. Are we now? You're taking a chance on 2 guys, the coach and the player. But because all of the NFL is talking about this, Pat, your thoughts? You spent time with Coach Prime in Boulder. You see any indication, or do you think there's any chance he would go and jump at a Raiders job?
I would be surprised. I mean, it could happen, certainly. But one thing Coach Prime has been is pretty open book. He's a truth teller. He's a pretty honest answerer of questions. And I haven't heard anything from him ever say, yeah, I'd like to coach in the NFL, or I could coach in the NFL, or I will, or I want to. And to me, it's maybe a little bit insulting of Deion's coaching chops here. That's like, well, yes, he would go, but only so he could be with his kid. I think he's going to be fine coaching at Colorado without his kid. I mean, I guarantee he's enjoyed it. It's been great. It's been one of the better stories in college football, I think, watching Shador blossom and play incredibly well and help his dad resuscitate a dead program. But life moves on. And I think, eventually your kids graduate from college and go do their own thing. That's usually the way it works in American business. And I think Shador's probably ready to do that. And I think Coach Prime's probably going to be just fine moving into the next chapter at Colorado with Julian Lewis or with Caden Salter or whatever. And I haven't heard anything from him that even makes you think, oh, yeah, he's angling for an NFL job.
What do you think, Joe? We'll have you, producer Joe, will jump in with Ross.
Yeah, I'll pretend to be Ross.
Lamb.
I'll
just
pretend
complain
to be
you're
Ross.
cold.
Well, I am cold. It's 20 degrees here in New Jersey. I'll be in Miami soon. But I think that you hit on there, Pat, a really good point with this. Why would also Shador want to jump to the NFL and continue to play for his dad? I mean, it's been a great experience for him to have that. But at a certain point, you're in your mid-20s and you're going to be growing and blossoming into a pro. Why the heck would you want to have your dad following you around every single step and he's the one who's controlling your career path? I just feel like that adds such a weird, unnecessary level to all of this. I know that, plenty of times in other industries, people go and work for their dads or their dad helps them get a job. But I think here, if I'm Shador Sanders, it's time to, let the bird leave the nest.
Yeah, I think a lot of parents want to be done with their kid when they're 22, 23. I think we're seeing that. That's also, it's a different type of business than like, hey, come take over the family business and let's work together. This is a zero-sum, massively competitive situation in the NFL, and careers are short, opportunities are short. So, if you got some kind of like trucking company and you want your son to be your protege, well, he's one of many employees, and you're unlikely to like lose all your contracts right away if he's not good enough, and then you're both out. So the son thing, it was very emotional watching Coach Prime, Deion Sanders on senior day with both Shador and Shiloh. And Shiloh, he doesn't get any love. Why don't you pick him? But I think, and I started watching some of the Coach Prime documentary or whatever it is, show they have that's out. And it's obviously a big deal getting to coach his sons, but I think he's kind of, moved on. So I'd be surprised. Who knows what Deion Sanders is going to do, but I would be surprised if there's anything other than him staying and coming back to Boulder. And I'm kind of bullish on the Buffaloes post Hunter, Shador, and Shiloh and all that. I think they've done very well again in the portal. At least it's some name guys. They've got their quarterback for the future. It's the Big 12 is wide open. I think they can continue to win.
Absolutely. That's the thing, is they've got it going in the right direction, and they are losing two, first round talents, but they're bringing in more talent. And the way he's building the roster has been different, but very effective so far. And I don't think that will probably change. So keep the coaching staff together. He's put together a good coaching staff, and keep your rev share NIL people doing what they can there. And I think Colorado can be in the Big 12 title hunt again next year.
Yeah. All right. A tweet out by Burke Magnus of ESPN, who oversees a ton of content and stuff there, but certainly college sports. And he put out, here is my annual post to the quote, "There are too many bowl games" crowd. We know those. We fight those people. Why do you hate more football? Never really understand these people, but there they are. Easiest thing to do if you don't want to watch the New Mexico Bowl is to not watch the New Mexico Bowl. Requires very little effort. The 33 non-CFP bowls on ESPN. So these are the games that everyone would get rid of, or most of them. The 33 non-CFP bowls on ESPN networks this year averaged 2.7 million viewers. That's a nice number for TV.
Very nice.
It's better than getting in college basketball or the NBA.
Sure.
That's some Caitlin Clark numbers there. Like a really good one. It is up 14% year over year, and is the largest audience since 2019 and 2020. Amongst, he's got a lot of facts here. I'm breaking it out into more sentences, but appears between viewers 18 to 49, the ratings are up 21%. 14 of the 33 bowls hit at least a 5-year high, and 5 hit a 10-year high. Now, this, despite losing a Saturday, which, that Saturday where we put the playoff games on. So they lost some good time slots. I think everybody would say, geez, the bowls seem to have less importance, maybe less appeal. We did, I think, see more guys play this year, whether it was for a half or the whole game. I think a lot of that was NIL related, but whatever, who knows? But this is a heck of a stat at a time when you would think, hey, maybe it holds steady. This is up. I don't know if it's the proliferation of online of legalized sports wagering. That's my guess. But whatever it is, the bowl business is booming.
Yeah, that was really impressive numbers, and surprised me. I will say, I wasn't expecting that, but the proof is in the pudding. And as you said, they did lose some programming real estate that you would think would have enhanced some of those numbers. Didn't matter. Play the bowl games whenever. People watched, and I agree. And that's another reason for people to say the NIL is the death of college football or whatever. It's helped make the bowl games better. fewer opt-outs, better, more recognizable players, better games, better matchups. There were very few teams that basically showed up with skeleton crews, trying to half-ass their way through a bowl game. So that was good. That was really good. And the appetite is there, man. People want their football. It's incredible. It's amazing. But I'm glad that, I'm very glad we have the playoff, but I'm glad the playoff is not killing the bowl system.
I think you just brought up like the biggest part about this, that everyone complains about opt-outs before this year. All people would complain about, oh, this is a joke that these guys don't want to play. And I've never seen so much participation from important players. Like the Ole Miss Duke game had most of Ole Miss's starters playing in it. I don't even think that they really had any major opt-outs. And they obviously kicked the crap out of Duke, but that's an example of a team that didn't need to send out Jackson Dart and Trey Amos and all those guys. And they played. They stepped on the field. They went out there. The NIL, for what needs to be discussed, and I don't think is getting enough coverage, is helping these bowl games, and the viewership is more compelling. These games were great this year. In the past, they've kind of stunk because you are watching some random quarterbacks play and some random backup linemen because they're just shuffling to try and shove people out there. But the participation was awesome. And then you also get these amazing stories. I'm forgetting his name, but that kid at North Texas who stepped in and hadn't played quarterback since his 9th grade year, goes out there, balls out. Maybe he could be the starter next year. This has been a fun year for storylines, despite the playoff dominating the national focus for college football.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've said when they started bailing out, that, it's still something for like the hardcore fans. Cause you say, hey, here's our backup quarterback. Here's that freshman we wanted to see, but he didn't get a chance. So let's say Jackson Dart doesn't play, but Ole Miss plays whoever it's going to be next year's starter. So there's some like excitement you can build off of that, and you can get some momentum. We saw Tennessee do it last year, and then have a tremendous season. Different things you can get going, but that wasn't really the case. That isn't the case anymore. But I just think the bowl games aren't going anywhere, and the bowl industry is going to be fine. They said when we had a playoff, they'd all die, which was one of the.
Oh yeah.
Remember that? Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Jim Delaney. The bowl games are dead. Well, they're not dead. They're getting better ratings than ever. People want to bet on games, and ESPN wants to show things that are going to get good numbers. And there's college football fans that just want to watch. Look, through Sunday, through Christmas, NBA games on ABC, ESPN, and TNT were averaging 1.4 million viewers. And ESPN can show at all hours of the day and night bowl games that are averaging 2.7 million. And maybe in Alabama, Michigan pumps that up, but so doesn't Lakers and Warriors, right? LeBron and Steph. So I mean, that's just what it is. But there's a lot of North Texas versus Texas States, and people are watching. I'd like to know what the rating is for that the really good Montana State. North Dakota State. North Dakota State won the.
I think it was 2.7. I saw the number somewhere. I'll pull it up.
For the FCS title on Monday night. Yeah,
that's savvy programming. I thought to put that on Monday night, and then the game delivered. It was a really good, fun game.
Yeah, and because it's like Monday Night Football, but there's no NFL. The NFL's regular season's over. There's nothing to put on there, and instead of going to college basketball, which rarely gets these kind of numbers. You need Duke Carolina with Zion Williamson to get a 2.7 in college basketball. This is, I love it, but there aren't that many people want to watch that stuff. This is pretty impressive. So I don't know.
The FCS Natty was 2.4, which is
that's amazing for North Dakota State versus Montana State.
I mean, it's Bozeman and Fargo TV markets. I mean, that's gonna pop that thing. That was a good game. That was a really good game.
It was fun.
It was a fun game. People, guess what? People like football.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since they started, NIL, all the stuff's come on. People are like, it's it. College football's dead. It's doomed. I'm like, I'm going to bet on America's interest in football.
Yeah. That's Apple stock right there.
Yeah.
America's interest in football is recession proof. We've seen it.
Yeah. Yeah. So really good. I like it. Bowl industry's cooking. Everyone's doing well. So we like out of this sport. We had some conference realignment news because you have to. But I'm not real interested in Northern Illinois going to the Mountain West. Like, congrats. Who cares? I'm more intrigued at this, Pat.
Yeah.
Which league gets out in front of this? Which league makes the real foresight decision and goes and adds the University of Greenland?
All right, you nearly choked me with that one. I was unprepared. We had not discussed this topic, so I was not prepared for that one.
We're buying Greenland, or we're going after it. Trump wants Greenland, and they're there right in the nation's capital of Nook. Nook. You want a TV market? Nook. 19,000 people.
19,000? That's 19, the national capital? 19. What is the overall population of Greenland?
58,000.
Oh, my God.
58,000 people live in there.
It's basically like Fargo, right? I mean,
it's Fargo.
It's an entire country of Fargo.
On an island it's the size of 3 Texases.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very large. We got a lot of potential. There's potential. Yeah. Okay? University of Greenland has maybe 600 students. I'm skeptical of that. I saw as low as 230. There does not appear to be a stadium. They do have a par 33 golf course.
Par 33.
Yeah. Well, you got to work around the glaciers. This is that they don't move. Clearly. You can't.
A 9-holer and like the glaciers inhibit them from having any par 5s, I guess. So.
I don't know. I'd like to play this thing. You probably got to really have a good stinger off the tee, because when that wind comes in off the Labrador Sea, I mean, what a draw is just gone. Pat, will somebody add the University of Greenland? Should there be at least an exploratory committee or something?
Clearly, look, I mean, what? The Big Ten's the ones that they've already gone coast to coast. Now they're going to add another coast. They're going to have the Labrador coast. Why not? And their little commercial where they show everything pop up.
Oh, this would be great.
Yeah. Now all of a sudden, boom, we're going all the way out there and we're putting a flag in Greenland. Why not? That's fantastic. Great news to know that, we might acquire them. But, for scheduling purposes, if they need a travel partner, schedule them with the University of Panama, because apparently we're going after
Panama
that too.
Could be,
right?
too.
Yeah.
We got a lot going. We got a lot on the plate here. The airport can only do little prop planes, so James Franklin would flip out if he thinks traveling in and out of state college. It'd be tough to get there. But Joe, if we do buy it, I read this in the Daily Mail, which is loving this story, of course, in London. That if we bought Greenland for the same price we bought Alaska, it would be about $230 billion.
Really? That much? Yeah. I thought we got Alaska cheap.
Well, I think they got to raise up the prices or something.
Yeah, I mean, adjusted for inflation, I'm sure.
Maybe I think you'd have to go higher, but whatever. This would, if it's in the billions, I mean, that's selling it for like 200 million. I mean, it's going to be billions anyway.
Who does that money go to? Who are
each citizen? Maybe each citizen. Well, there's only each person in Greenland would have $40 million.
Each seal and each polar bear?
Well, they don't get to vote. We're not getting into that. We're not doing livestock this time. We're not doing livestock. Tanya Herding.
Well, it was very controversial. Some outcomes out of that.
Joe,
Tanya
what are
Herding
these
story.
NIL? What are the NIL deals that the people in Nook that have NIL coming out their Nook? They could do anything they want.
I am perplexed by this whole possibility. And I think that you just pointed out here, because, I mean, if you're buying land, you're buying it from somebody. I think you're buying it from the polar bears. I think that's what's happening. All I'm going to say is I would not underestimate this football program. Anyone who knows Nordic people knows that they are enormous. The former Vikings, they are big people. I think that we would add them to the Big Ten and they would knock some heads. You teach them how to play football, I think that they could do some serious damage. We'd be talking about an Ohio State upset having to travel all the way to Greenland because they're going up against defensive linemen that are 6'9". I don't think people realize what could be opened up here.
Hardy people. Hardy people living up there.
See, I'm a fourth Norwegian, so I can identify with these people. This might be my new team, the Greenland, polar bears or whatever.
There's also been discussions of making Canada the 51st state, which would bring that into the fold. Now that could be a juggernaut.
Well, if it's one state for the entire country, yeah,
sure. That's how. Apparently, it's the 51st state, the whole country. Hockey and basketball. Hockey, they forget it. Sorry, Boston College and Denver, you're out. University of Toronto is going to whoop you. But basketball is awful good too in Canada. Toronto's got a ton of great players. So, and the NIL deals for curling would be significant. Curtis Rourke was from Canada.
Oh yeah.
I think there's a lot here. We keep an eye on Washington on this. They have these congressional hearings that go nowhere, but we start buying countries. It's going to have a serious impact on things. All right. We'll be back right after this.
Introducing Daily Draw, the latest free-to-play game from Yahoo Sports. Daily Draw gives you a pack of 6 prediction cards every day based on the day's biggest sporting event. Download or update the Yahoo Sports app on the Apple App Store or Google Play and join the action with Daily Draw today.
All right, a little transfer portal news. Some more kids are sifting out, particularly the higher rated ones, for what that's worth. Big news was Georgia picking up the Branch brothers, Zachariah and Zion. Zachariah was pretty coveted as a wide receiver, which I think Georgia certainly could use, and Zion as a safety. That was a big get this week, don't you think, Pat?
Huge, because yes, receiver has been a glaring point of need for Georgia. They got, they led the nation in drop passes. They need help at that position, and also kick returns, which Zachariah Branch is elite in that area. And after Kirby Smart watched Notre Dame run one back on him, probably said, you know what, we need one of those. So getting Zachariah Branch definitely helpful. And then Zion Branch certainly doesn't hurt either. Safety. Georgia loses a lot in the portal because they've got so many good players and they can't all play. But they occasionally will make some big acquisitions as well. And I think Zachariah Branch is one of them. Yeah,
huge. Also return man. Right, like as a specialist, he's an electric player. I was a little surprised he left USC. I mean, but then again, there's a lot of departures at USC. That seems to be a concern, which is probably why they're hiring a GM. I think they've been looking for a GM now for a few weeks, general manager, and that person will be pretty important.
We'll see how it all shakes out before we completely bury USC. But boy, the shovels are getting taken out of the storage right now. Mm-hmm. It's not looking particularly good. Iowa has making another effort at a quarterback. Mark Gronowski from South Dakota State is coming in, and he was a bit coveted. People were after Gronowski. And amazingly, a quarterback with options chose Iowa. I mean, it's a new day. It's a new day in Kirk Ferentz's program. So there's actually a lot of enthusiasm for this. Is this going to be the answer?
Joe, you follow that FCS level.
What do you think, Joe?
Thoughts?
Multi-national championship winning quarterback. He's a great athlete. I think that the NFL, from what I've heard, likes him quite a bit because he's, he checks all the boxes. Tall, can run, played a lot of games, good leader, all the, the typical jargon that you hear with quarterbacks. But for what Iowa has, this is probably one of the best quarterbacks that they've had stepping into that room in 10 plus years. Who's the last guy that I can even think of that was competent was Nate Stanley that they've had. Anything is better than what we've been seeing for them. They need somebody who just knows how to handle themselves in situations. I guess that's Karnowski. Prayers up for him if he's not just stepping into a void of a team that never has a good offense.
Yeah, a place where quarterbacks go to struggle, at least. Dan's phrasing of it I thought was terrific, where he said making another attempt at a quarterback.
93 touchdowns thrown in his career at South Dakota State, and he also 37 rushing touchdowns. So there's a lot of possibility there. We'll see if Iowa gets rolling. Pat, well, who else made a move?
Cal getting back their quarterback
right.
that they had looked like they had lost, coveted quarterback, and we'll do our best with the pronunciation here, but Jaron Keawe Sagapolitelli.
I think you nailed that.
But from Hawaii, which has produced a lot of good quarterbacks in recent years. And he was going to Cal, and then he had flipped to Oregon, and now he's flipped back to Cal, and Cal doesn't win many recruiting battles. Certainly not ones where you would theoretically be in an NIL struggle with Oregon. So I think that's a big get for Justin Wilcox and for the Golden Bears. They need something. They've made the transition to the ACC. It was pretty middling results this year, and they lost Fernando Mendoza, their QB, to Indiana. So that fits a glaring need for them. We'll see how fast he's ready. It's always a lot to expect for a quarterback as a freshman, but still, even for past this year, past 2025 to 26, 27, this could be really important for them.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a playing time thing. He got there and he said he was there a month. I mean, it's classic. He signed, showed up at Oregon, and now hit the portal after a few weeks. I mean, he only signed a month ago.
Yeah.
But they have Dante Moore, who started last year at UCLA and then sat out this year, sat behind on the bench this year. And they have Achilles Smith Jr. as a quarterback coming in. And I think you just saw this is the hunt for playing time equals out on everything.
No doubt. And that's it. Yeah. There's suddenly playing time very immediately available at Cal. So,
yeah. So some possibilities are out there. All right. We'll do a quick People's Court before we pick this game. This is a big one. North Korea, we like keeping tabs on North Korea.
Worth keeping tabs on. Yeah.
Always North Korea. I mean, they're up to stuff. They are. And, our guy Kim Jong-un has issued a new decree I'm personally offended by. He is banning the consumption of hot dogs.
Oh, my.
No North Korean is allowed to eat a hot dog anymore.
Humanity.
Yeah, part of a crackdown on Western culture infiltrating the hermit kingdom. I can think of no better example of Western culture than the chance to eat a hot dog.
This is real tyranny, by the way.
It is.
I mean, there are labor camps. There's food shortages. There's imprisonment. There's a stifling of speech and the press and gatherings and stuff. But this may be what makes the UN flip and make a move here. He has declared that serving a hot dog is an act of treason.
Wow.
Selling or cooking people. This is a New York Post, so it must be true. People caught. I don't know where they have a correspondent there.
I'm sure they do.
How do we get this information? People caught selling or cooking hot dogs face the prospect of time in the country's infamous labor camps.
Wow.
Thoughts on this humanitarian crisis, Ross? We'll start with you.
Is this real? That's insane.
It's the New York Post.
I love a good hot dog, Dan. Get a little mustard on there, a little relish, fresh bun. The hot dog's good. All beef, particularly. This is sad. I feel sorry for the people in North Korea. The hot dog is a is a staple. Also, could you imagine? The New York Post wrote this story. Go on a street corner in New York, and you'll see 4 hot dog stands.
It's true.
On the corner. I mean, Pat and I just got back from being in. Or no, wait, Pat, you weren't in New Orleans, were you? No.
The Lucky Dog.
Golly, everyth's running together. But yeah, Lucky Dog is what I was thinking of. Yeah, I mean, even in the airport, New Orleans airport, there's a Lucky Dog. So this is sad, Dan. The poor people in North Korea get stripped from them the great pleasure in biting into a good dog with some mustard and relish and fresh bun.
This cannot stand. It cannot stand. I mean, I think the people will rise up. This could be it. This could be finally stops the
War
dictatorship
over the dog.
there. Yeah, and I can't speak about North Korean cuisine. South Korean, we know there's got some good food.
Great food.
Yeah. Korean barbecue. They know how to do it there. But you've got to have your options. I mean, and to take away an option like that is, I just think that you're playing with fire there. The people really might rise up and come back at them. The 38th parallel, people may start trying to get south of the 38th parallel to get where they can eat their hot dogs.
Could this be it? Could the hot dog?
Mm-hmm.
Could the hot dog? Should we send Chestnut? Should we send Joey Chestnut to the demilitarized zone?
Yes.
As an example.
Yeah,
He'd be locked away for years. I mean, there's a whole lot. They might give him the damn whatever they do there. The old chair, or do they still shoot people?
Of course they do.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's kind of heinous over there. Some of the things
would
they
be
do. So.
That would be a triggering motion by South Korea to put Joey Chestnut in the DMZ with like just a crate of hot dogs and have him just shoving them in, staring across the border at North Korea.
Immediate imprisonment.
Yeah.
Immediate imprisonment. Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, let's pick the games.
No, I think we should talk more about North Korea and its hot dog ban.
Well,
Dan.
we talked about Greenland today, Panama, Canada, and North. This is an international.
We are incredibly cosmopolitan here.
We really are. We're global.
It's a global show. That's right.
Global show. We're here for you with all of it. Anyway, time to pick the games. We have Thursday night. We have Notre Dame giving 1.5 against Penn State. Games on ESPN 7:30. Should be a great one. I'm really excited for it. Pat, who you picking?
I'm sticking with Notre Dame. I picked them to make the championship game over by beating Penn State before the thing started, so I'm sticking with that. But I will say the Jeremiah Love injury is a concern. If he's not able to go or not able to have the acceleration and the burst that he has shown, because I wrote about this on Tuesday. Notre Dame's explosiveness has just been unbelievable. And I talked about it on an earlier podcast, too. I mean, they are hitting home runs in all three phases. Pick sixes, long runs, the kickoff return. And you take that weapon out of the bag. Jeremiah Love has been the most explosive player for them. And the Penn State defense is awfully good. And if they can have one fewer thing to worry about a home run threat, then that doesn't bode well. But I'm still sticking with Notre Dame. I think this is the best team that Penn State has played since they played Ohio State. And I think they may not have enough firepower there, so I'm sticking with the Irish.
Same here, Dan. I don't know if you've heard, but I'm undefeated in my picks in the playoffs.
I have
8-0. Yeah.
I did. I had a listener actually dispute that.
Oh,
my bracket? I
Yeah,
tweeted out
well,
my bracket.
Okay, all right. No, is your picks against the spread at least, or not 8-0?
The spread.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't worry about the spread.
It's different.
I don't worry about the spread.
Neither does BetMGM. Yeah,
I don't deal with the spread. Just pick the game in my straight up bracket projection pick before the playoff.
Yeah.
I'm 8-0. So I'm going to stick with the 8-0. Just
The
like Pat with Notre Dame.
listener, by the way, he said if you all just start picking games straight up, we're not going to listen. So
Yeah.
got it. Yeah, exactly. Tell it to the Gambinos
That's
if
right.
you want to.
Yeah.
The spread doesn't count.
Yeah. So I'm same with Pat. I'm here. I picked Notre Dame before the playoff began. I picked Notre Dame and Ohio State to get there. I'm still gonna pick the Irish, but yes, I am concerned about the Jeremiah Love injury. I think though that on the other side of the ball, right, Penn State Abdul Carter, it sounds like he's having trouble. I mean, they don't openly say it, but clearly he's not 100%, and it doesn't sound like he's even like 80 or 90%, right? It sounds like that he's going to be dealing with something, and that he might actually not play or play in a very limited role. So that obviously could hurt the Nittany Lions considerably. So I'm going with the Irish, not just to win, but yes, to cover the spread.
I obviously, as a Notre Dame fan, I want Notre Dame to win. I would pick them straight up to win, but on this segment, every single week, I have picked against them, and I'm not going to stop doing that until they lose. So just give me Penn State. I'm not going to elaborate further. I am hoping that they win. I'm going to be there at the game. If they don't, I might not make it back, and you guys might not hear from me when we try to tape on Friday or Saturday.
Double
3/4 of the podcast will be at the game. What about you, Dan?
There you go.
I am going to be in the city with the best weather in the country if you factor all 12 months. See? I'll be watching on TV.
Have you been to Southern California?
I said San Diego gets a pass.
Okay, because
San Diego's number one, Honolulu number 2. Other than those ones, and then the other places that are really good, Detroit's number 1. If you take all those, But yeah. Anyway, this is tough. I am not as convinced. I'm going to go Notre Dame. I think they're too physical, but I see I would take the under. That would be my first pick. If you want my lock, I would take the under. A lot of pressure on Drew Aller in this game. He's got to make some plays. He's got to make some throws. He's got to be able to run the ball too. But if he can make some plays, if they can get some points on the board, Notre Dame is not going to. They're going to have to run the ball, both sides. I think if Drew Aller has a chance to step up and win this game, getting it to Tyler Warren in particular, he is the X factor in this. There are not a lot of good wide receivers in this game, but both teams are able to run the ball. Penn State, can they stop Notre Dame's string of huge breakout plays? Pat did a good story of the unlikelihood of these 98-plus yard touchdowns and 70-yard touchdowns and all that. I'm going to take Notre Dame, but I can certainly see a scenario where Drew Aller plays the way a lot of NFL scouts believe he can and wins it. But with the 1.5 as tight, I think Notre Dame's too physical. Speaking of physical, can Texas be physical enough in the other semifinal, which is played at AT&T Stadium Friday, 7:30 is the schedule, Eastern time on ESPN. Ohio State is giving 6. To me, not only do you have to be great on defense and get a pass rush in, you have to be able to run and control the football against Ohio State and keep that offense off the field. Can they do that, Ross?
Probably not. This is a big spread. Obviously, 6 is a pretty large number in a game, especially like this. Two pretty good teams meeting in a semifinal. It seems like a big spread, but the Buckeyes have been on a tear, and I don't expect it to end. Somebody mentioned that they've added in some new wrinkles offensively, which is why we're seeing the Tennessee defense and the Oregon defense struggle, especially early on. We're 2 games in, so there shouldn't be too much new stuff for Texas. But either way, I think the Buckeyes are playing well enough. Will Howard at quarterback, Jeremiah Smith, that they're going to cover this, and they're going to win, and they're going to go on to the national championship game. So give me Ohio State to do it.
I agree with Ross. I think Ohio State is just playing on a level where they can win, but not just win, but win pretty handily here. Though I have one what if in this Ohio State roll. So they're playing Tennessee, right? They've come off the disaster against Michigan. There's 35,000 Tennessee fans in the stadium. Ohio State gets the ball and goes 3 and out to start the game. But Tennessee roughed the passer, and then the avalanche started. And the avalanche may have started on the second possession. It may well have. But I would have liked to have seen the dynamic in the stadium if Ohio State goes 3 and out in a hostile home atmosphere and Tennessee gets anything going there, how things might have turned out. Turned out it's moot because Ohio State has absolutely rolled. The one question I have, what happens if Will Howard misses some of these deep balls that he's absolutely lacing right now? If he misses a couple and Ohio State doesn't get that blistering start in Texas and the Texas crowd gets behind them and things just maybe, this is more of a struggle, how do they handle it? All that said, I'm picking the Buckeyes to win big.
I'm taking Ohio State too. I think that this 6-point line, I don't think it's big enough. The biggest thing, and we harp on a lot on this show, is how intense Ohio State's been through this stretch. But to be more specific, Texas can't run the ball against teams with good run defense. Arizona State had a underrated run defense. Georgia, the 2 times that they played them, great run defenses. Clemson did not. Clemson had a lot of issues with stopping the run throughout this year, and that showed up in that game. When they can't run the ball and they have a lead and they popped up big early against Arizona State and they were coming out firing against Georgia in the SEC championship game, they couldn't control the time of possession. They couldn't control the game by running the football and slowing the game down. It got way too quick for Quinn Ewers, and that's what leads to Quinn Ewers' mistakes. This secondary is too good for him to be facing to have a lot of pressure on his shoulders. If they can't get anything going on the ground against that insanely good defensive line that Ohio State has, this could be like a 14, 17-point victory for Ohio State.
Yeah, I'm really on that. I just don't think they can run the ball. You have to be able to kill clock. The secret to that Michigan victory was the limited number of possessions that Ohio State had, particularly in the second half. And then to Pat's point, if you can do that, and then all of a sudden everyone gets nervous, including the coaching staff, because it's funny, 2 games later, and Ohio State is right back to where they were before Michigan, which is everybody saying, you're not just going to win the national championship, you're going to win it by a couple scores. You're dominating. You better win it. We got it. I mean, they're playing in the parade route. And it's amazing spin. It's not took 4 games for Ryan Day's narrative to change. It took 2. And so all of a sudden that can go right back. And so is that. But to do that, Texas has to win that defensive line, has to hold off JT, Jack Sawyer. These guys have to be able to control the ball, kill clock, and get Ohio State into panic mode. I don't see any of that happening. I think Ohio State wins and covers, but that's be the route for. I'll say this about what Texas is going to do on Friday night. They're going to show up ready to play. They don't care. They're going to try to find a way to win. They have a lot of very, very good football players, and they're well coached. It's a good team. So they're going to show up and give it their all. They're going to have to play a near perfect game to win this, but we will see. It should be fascinating. Anyway, that's our show. That's the weekend upcoming, Thursday and Friday, back-to-back nights. Pretty cool. Hopefully everyone survives the weather, the tragedy out in LA, everything else. You're going to get frozen in half the South where a lot of our listeners are. Stay safe. And if you're bored, you can just listen to the old editions of the College Football Enquirer. We'll handle you. We'll
keep you warm.
We're always here for you.
What else would you rather do than listen to more of us?
Real estate in Detroit. It's, come where it doesn't snow. Come where it doesn't snow. Or Nook. Maybe it's not snowing. Anyone know the weather in Nook right now?
I'll check. Hang on. Wait.
Oh, all right.
Let's see if we get
Give me 30 seconds.
Is it worse than Chattanooga? That's what we're going to find out.
Is it spelled N-O-O-K?
No, N-U-U-K.
It's 24 degrees right now.
24?
2 p.m.
Is it snowing?
No. It is a little cloudy.
I've got 20 and snow, or 20 and cloudy. Yeah. So.
Yeah, it's better than like Huntsville's getting.
Yeah, right.
See?
It's going to be sunny and 5 later in the week.
Is that where you live?
High of 5, low of 2.
No, that's Greenland, the capital. You don't know the capital of Greenland?
No. You mean the 51st U.S. state,
Yes.
Greenland?
Yeah, no. That's
You'll have to
Yeah.
listen to the pod.
Yeah, Ross missed that
I know.
part of
I
that.
had
you're
to
gonna have
bail
to
out
listen.
there for about
Yeah.
15 minutes. Sorry about that.
You really missed a
I just
high-end
quit on you
discussion.
guys, really.
It's a high-end
I just like to
discussion.
That's right.
All right, that's it. We got to go. we're now repeating Bizarro discussions. We are uncertain of our schedule. Depends if there's going to be a Cotton Bowl on time or not. Could be back Friday. Could be back Saturday. We're going to be back, though. Don't worry. We're going to be here to discuss all the action, and we appreciate you guys listening, subscribing, sharing us, all of that, leaving us nice reviews. We will talk to you later.